So tell me, Ryan, they they banned Simian Spirit Guide, Ad Nauseam community, really low in
Yep,
morale, low in spirits, but now they're back. They're
we're
back
back
in a big way. Tell
in a
me
big
all
way.
about it. How does this deck rise from the ashes to become a competitive deck in Modern?
All right. Well, as you know, Ad Nauseam is a turn 4 combo deck. Now, what if I told you that on the turn you wanted to win, you got to cast Demonic Tutor for free on your
Ooh,
upkeep? Whoa! So this card has completely changed the game for this deck. Now, instead of having 4 copies of a combo piece, you've got 8 copies of a combo piece.
mm-hmm.
Um, Ad Nauseam has always been really clunky in multiples, as well as cards like, well, yeah, Ad Nauseam has been clunky in multiples.
No more ad, no
Now
more
we only need to
multiples
run
now.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we can afford to just run one, which is great. Um, I forget the tweet you said before. Like, it's just 1 copy, but it's still Ad Nauseam.
That's right.
So yeah, we've got 4 tutors for that. You can still spoils for it if you're feeling bold. I actually won
Mm-hmm.
a game on stream where I spoiled for my 1 copy of Nas. Um, yeah, so the deck just got a huge boost in consistency.
Right.
Simian Spirit Guide, we love them. R.I.P. Harambe. But at the end of the day, it's a red card in our Esper deck that it's a 2/2 for 3 that isn't a great draw. But so being able to cut that from the deck and having ways to win on turn 4 consistently without it also just increases the overall power level of the deck. Um, in addition, Ad Nauseam has always been very weak to discard effects, right? Thoughtseize is the best card to beat Ad Nauseam.
Right.
But with Profane Tutor, uh, you can protect your combo piece from discard because you suspend that on 2. They can't do anything on their turn 3. And then on turn 4, we
Mm-hmm.
can get it straight out of the deck. So now this card is also helping us against discard as well. We can, yeah, like, oh, what if they discard our 1 copy of Ad Nauseam? Well, that's not going to happen so much because we're not going to get the Ad Nauseam into our hand until the exact turn that we need it.
Right.
So it's
And you
helped
don't
us against.
even need it really. I mean, there are other ways of
Oh yeah,
comboing with this deck, even without Ad Nauseam. I mean, a lot of, and the reason I thought that this deck would survive past the banning of Simian Spirit Guide, I actually didn't think it was going to disappear so quickly. It was because you're basically winning with Thassa's Oracle anyway. I mean, there's so many games that my opponent didn't even cast Ad Nauseam. All they have to do is protect themselves. Thassa's Oracle spoils for a card that doesn't exist, and then all of a sudden I'm lost. All of a sudden I'm
absolutely.
lost.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. So the deck kind of became a 3-card combo deck, right? You
Mm-hmm.
need your white card so you don't lose, your spoils of the vault, or your Ad Nauseam, and then you need your Thassa's Oracle to have that game-winning trigger. So again, Profane Tutor, you need 3 kinds of cards: your blue Thassa's Oracle, your white protection spell, your black remove the library card.
Yes.
Profane Tutor is just going to help you find that missing piece. I mean, it's like playing a wild card. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it can be anything you need. Also, if you have the whole combo already, you can get Pact of Negation with your Profane Tutor. So you just have it all covered. Like, if you have the combo, well, now you have a free force of will, basically.
The thing is like the
Really good.
Joker of a deck.
Yeah, the Joker of the deck, absolutely. Another really cool interaction with Profane Tutor that I want to point out is, let's say I have a Profane Tutor coming off to suspend on my
Mm-hmm.
next turn.
Right.
I can cast Pact of Negation from my hand to stop whatever my opponent's plan is,
Mm-hmm.
and then stack the upkeep triggers. So I'll put Pact on the stack first, Profane Tutor on top. That Profane Tutor can find an Angel's Grace. So I can actually
Right.
cast the Angel's Grace from my Profane Tutor in response to the trigger of my Pact, stopping me from losing the game. So that's just like, the fact that Profane Tutor even happens in your upkeep is also just, it's like they printed the card just for this deck. It's like, hey, we banned Spirit Guide. We're sorry. That's on us. Here, have
They
a busted
knew.
card. They knew, yeah.
They knew what was
But
coming. Yeah.
certainly.
So yeah. So now you can use Pact of Negation like just a normal counterspell if Profane Tutor's going to be coming
Yeah,
off
it's like a
suspend the
force
following turn.
negation, but way better. Way better.
So what decks are you chewing up right now in Modern? I mean, we got a lot of dangerous stuff out there. We've got these Urza food decks. We got these black red Ragavan decks. What is the Ad Nauseam eating up?
All right. So I'm glad you asked. I actually, at 11 a.m. today, EST, so an hour from right now, I'm going to have a
Hmm.
sideboard guide posted on my Twitter for everyone to enjoy. But looking at the metagame right now, any deck that is trying to play basic mountain is a really good matchup. So I'm looking at
Okay.
Blitz, Burn. Any deck that is playing Lava Dart is just going to be, that's what we're chewing
Yeah.
up and spitting out.
They hate
Um,
Phyrexian on life.
yes, they certainly do. It's just a spell that gains you like 15 life. It's ridiculous. Um, the Hell's Kitchen, the black green food deck,
Hmm.
notably is completely cold to Ad Nauseam in game one. They have no interaction whatsoever outside of Pithing Needle, which has no hits in our deck. Pithing Needle is a blank against Ad Nauseam.
Hmm.
So we are just completely winning game one. And then in game two, um, they've got Thoughtseize and Assassin's Trophy and such, but we have answers to that in our sideboard in the form of Leyline of Sanctity and Veil of Summer. So
Right.
the food decks are pretty good matchups for us. They've got this mid-rangey game plan and not a ton of interaction, so we're good there. Amulet Titan has historically been a good matchup.
Hmm.
It looks like they're moving away from Karn the Great Creator and leaning into the Urza Saga, which is
Yep.
great news for us.
I love Urza
Urza,
Saga.
we love Urza Saga. So Urza Saga cannot tutor anything, to my knowledge, that is disruptive to our combo. Um, so
Well,
it's just
not yet. You're because Ad Nauseam's not on the map, but I mean,
yeah,
also I don't know what they would do. Does anyone
yeah.
know in the comments section, or does anyone know in chat, like what could you tutor with an Urza Saga that would do anything to Ad Nauseam?
I can't think of anything.
Because you can't get Chalice. You can't even get Chalice
You
of the
can't
Void.
get Chalice. You can't get anything to destroy an enchantment or an artifact. We have no graveyard. We don't need our graveyard at all.
Hmm.
Um, is Felden's Cane modern legal? I don't have to look that up.
I don't know. What Felden's Cane?
Let's see. Oh, it's time shifted.
It is a lot modern legal. Yeah, shuffle your graveyard
Oh,
into your
shuffle
library.
your graveyard. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah, so
even
you
do it.
can't even interact with the opponent.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that was target player shuffles their graveyard in, then you could have the Ad Nauseam player put cards from their graveyard into their library to sort of counter the Thassa's Oracle trigger.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's not looking good for Urza Saga.
So you're beating
Um,
the top decks. You said any of the red
oh
decks.
yeah,
So basically anything playing Dragon Rage Chandler, Ragavan. You're beating the food
oh
decks. You're
yeah,
beating Titan
hmm
decks. I mean, you're
oh yeah.
goldfishing better than they are. So what would this deck now struggle against in today's modern metagame?
All right, so the medium matchups are the Orzhov Stoneblade lists are kind of
Hmm.
concerning. The
Oh, you don't like that grief, huh?
Oh, we don't
You don't
like
like
grief.
that
That gives me a
grief and
lot of grief.
ephemerate. Mm-hmm.
Luckily, Leyline of Sanctity is really decent in that matchup, but that is definitely a challenging matchup. The black-red mid-range decks, they're just loaded with discards. They have Kolaghan's Command.
Yep.
That can be a challenge in game one. Again, Leyline of Sanctity. Living End and Crashing Footfalls, particularly the Crashing Footfalls deck. Any blue deck that can put pressure on us early is going to be a challenge for Ad Nauseam.
Really? Because I'd never thought that would be early pressure. I mean, you're talking like Shardless Agent, that's 10 power by turn 3, but that's still turn 3. They don't even have a kill even until turn 4. I remember Ad Nauseam, this was a turn 4 kill deck. Are we
Right.
still in that range, or are we a little bit slower
Oh,
now?
it's certainly a consistent turn 4 kill deck now that we have the tutor. But the issue comes where if they play the footfalls and then they have a force of negation
Oh, the
for the
disruption.
combo,
Okay.
it's that pressure plus disruption. That is the
Yep.
key to beating Ad Nauseam every time.
Mhm.
Pressure plus disruption. So they could put 10 power in on turn 3. We untap and kill them. Like,
Mhm.
that's going to happen a certain number of times. But also, if we go for the kill and they just have force of negation and we have no response to that, we've got a real game on our hands, right? Now we have they're like got a 2-turn clock and it's looking scary. So, yeah, it's definitely like a medium matchup there.
Mhm.
The hardest matchups are going to be humans, infect, and probably blue. Anything that's playing like Teferi and counter spells, it's going to be difficult.
Well, not a lot of infect out there. They
Certainly
don't like
not.
they don't like Ren and 6, Lava Dart. I mean, it's a little hostile for infect, so that's
I'm
gonna be good
so
for Ad
glad that's
Nauseam.
the case, right? Yeah, humans is creeping up in the metagame. It was like at
Yes.
1 point something a couple days ago. Now I'm seeing it
Yeah.
at 1.8%. So that is concerning. We may have to alter our sideboard plan for that a little bit.
What
Push
do you
comes to
think you would
shove.
do versus humans? How would you prepare?
If I was expecting a lot of humans, I would play a different deck. But if that wasn't an option for me, I would definitely be packing 3 Slaughter Packs, and I would even try to fit a Wrath Effect in my sideboard. I have always been of the opinion that Wrath Effects are bad. I
Mhm.
haven't played a Wrath in my sideboard since 2019. But
Oh, you
if
don't like Bontu's Last Reckoning, huh?
I hate Bantu's Last Reckoning. I'm not a fan of that card at all. Uh, Again, this is a turn 4 combo deck, right?
Mhm.
So Bantu's, you can play it on turn 3, but how are you winning on turn 4 with that, right? You just all your lands stay tapped for your next turn, so you won't be able to kill them. You know, it doesn't fit with the deck strategy. It does in the sense that it's a 3-mana Wrath, so your prisms are okay, but in 2021, I'm not trying to play Bantus anymore.
Mhm.
I think the card has not aged well. There is Out of Time from the new set, Modern Horizons 2. It gives all the creatures, phases them all out, and it has Vanishing or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. If I had to play a Wrath right now, it would either be this or Engineered Explosives.
Oh, EE is still pretty good. You know, EE is a good
Yeah,
card.
it is a great card. The only issue with it is that we have prisms on Pentad Prisms that are 2-drops, and we have Unlife that is a 3-drop. So sometimes it can have a little splash damage that we can't really afford in this deck.
Mhm.
In addition to that, it can be a little mana intensive. So I'm not a huge fan of EE, but yeah, the Out of Time looks promising as a Wrath, but really, you only really need Slaughter Pact. Like, your opponent is going to play a Meddling Mage on Thassa's Oracle, and then they're just going to play, like, Mantis Rider or whatever, dude. Just Slaughter Pact for free, the Meddling Mage, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
If you Ad Nauseam, you can pick up all your Slaughter Packs, you know. I'll kill that Collector Oof. I'll kill that Meddling Mage. I'll kill the Thalia. You know, you get the idea.
Yep.
The Sanctum Prelate. So I'm a huge fan of Slaughter Pact. You know, why spend any mana when you can do it for free?
Of course. All right, everyone, welcome to the morning show where we discuss all things magic, and particularly Ad Nauseam today. I have with me, joining me, G Ryan Donkin, the Ad Nauseam specialist, the master. He's going to show us why he's dedicated to Ad Nauseam. He took a little break
dedicated.
when Simian Spirit Guide took a dirt nap, but he's back big time. They've printed. The shell is there. The shell is still there. So, you know, bring on your questions. And let's have a great discussion this morning. Also, we do deck list reviews, so if you got a 75 you'd like some feedback on, submit it to us, and we will take a look at it. We'll take a look at your 75 and get some feedback. So brew up your cups of coffee, coffee crew, and let's brew up some magic this morning. Welcome to Coffee and MTG for July 1st, 2021. I just know it's Canada Day today. You know that?
Oh my
Canada
gosh.
Day today. So, you know, happy Canada Day to all the Canadians.
A lot of love for all my Canadian friends.
All right, so this is a sponsored show, so let's carry on with the sponsors. Love it when you talk about the sponsors. FusionGamingOnline.com, the Canadian game store. Deal of the week this week: 15% off all Secret Lair singles and sealed boxes, or singles and box sets. So I mean, if this is the perfect time, if you ever wanted that one card in the Secret Lair set, you know, they come out with tons of the cards. You don't want all those cards. You just want that one art. Well, now's the time to get the playset of that one particular art from FusionGamingOnline.com. And don't forget, you can get an extra 5% off that 50% off with coupon code Nikachu. Get supports the channel and saves you a little bit more money. Also, we're going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. Forewarned, there are card availability issues between Ragavan, Urza Saga, and Mishra's Bauble, but maybe you want to play Ad Nauseam, which actually doesn't have, as far as I'm concerned, no card availability issues whatsoever. You're not going to find any Urza Sagas, the Ragavans, the Mishra's Baubles in this deck. So you can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu.
You know, I would just feel so bad if somebody waited all day to rent their Ragavans and their Urza Sagas, and then they got paired against Ad Nauseam, and it's just like lights out. Like,
and then here's a good segue. Tyler asks, what are good replacements for Ragavans for those that can't get 4? You know, I would say Swift Spear, Soul Scar Mage. Like, there's a lot of good red cards. If you're in the blue decks, you could play Delver. I just made a video saying Delver sucks. It's unplayable because the decks playing without Delver are just doing better. But you know what? It'd probably be a good replacement in those sort of Delver-style decks. I would definitely play it. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, so I would like to add, I am a Delver player when I'm not playing Ad Nauseam. It's like my guilty pleasure deck for sure. I'm a big Teamer Delver player. And before Ragavan was printed, I was actually playing Dreadhorde Arcanus. And it fills a similar role because you've got a creature that wants to attack, and when it does attack, you generate value. You know? So, you know, being able to swing in with this will probably recast a cantrip, which is going to draw you that card, just like Ragavan. And it's going to maybe bolt something. Like, I've had awesome plays where I'm playing against Eldrazi-tron. I'll top deck the Flame Slash or Thought-Knot Seer, attack, Flame Slash or other Thought-Knot Seer. You know, it's a great card. It's fairly cheap. And if you're just looking for a creature that will generate value by attacking a couple times, I would definitely suggest this one as well.
Awesome. Whoops, lost you. So for the Ad Nauseam matchup, what's your matchup versus Storm? Combo versus combo.
Ooh. Yeah, so this matchup has changed a lot. So back in the good old days, you used to be able to win at instant speed. One of my favorite memories, I was at a SCG Regionals, and my opponent has a lethal grape shot on the stack. And I'm like, oh, so you finally tapped your last blue source? Great. I'll play Angel's Grace. I'll play Ad Nauseam, exile my Spirit Guides, and kill you.
Yeah,
we don't have Spirit Guide anymore. So the matchup has changed quite a bit. It's really a race to the finish line. Veil of Summer and Leyline of Sanctity are going to turn off Gifts Ungiven, which is huge. Also, Leyline will turn off Grape Shot as well. So you have some ways to slow them down that are very cheap, right? So Leyline is free. Veil of Summer is 1 mana. That's going to let you develop your game plan while they are trying to go to your end step to play Gifts Ungiven. So their deck is definitely I think we are favored. The matchup has gotten worse now that we don't have that instant speed kill. But, like, you know, there's nothing cooler than Angel's Gracing with a lethal Grape Shot on the stack, untapping, resolving that Profane Tutor, getting the combo piece that you need, and then getting there. So I think there's still a lot of play in the matchup. And those few sideboard cards that I mentioned are going to go a long way towards getting you to where you need to be to win. Excellent.
What do you think is your plan to beat Control? Not that there's too much of it out there, but it's going to be back. We all know Control is going to be back one way or another.
Yeah, so Control is a really interesting matchup right now. because we don't have the instant speed kill, right? So we're kind
Right.
of relearning how to navigate these old matchups.
You got to win at sorcery speed, which favors the control deck big time.
Absolutely. I will say that the most important part of the control matchup is making sure that you have a plan for Teferi Time Raveler.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 Spell Pierce in my sideboard, and excuse me, and I only have those in there. I have those in there because I'm trying to counter cards like Teferi Time Raveler. So, like,
that's Teferi. This
yeah,
has got your name on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you suspend your tutor on turn 2. They passive mana leak up. You play a land. You pass. They tap out for Teferi. You spell pierce it. You untap and win the game. That's kind of the idea. Other than that, it's also like a really interesting thing. In the past, the game plan has always been to be very patient. Wait until you have all your packs. Tax their mana by going off. Your counter spells are free. There's counter spells can cost like 3 or 4 mana even. So you can typically out counter them in a counter war. But now they have Force of Negation, right? So now waiting forever isn't always the best. So I'm trying to win early and often, making sure that the Fury stays off the table. And when I'm comboing, I want to make sure I have at least something to say to a Force of Negation, right? If I can afford it.
You want at least one response, and also you want to do it as soon as possible before they get too much counter magic.
Yeah, and if they resolve to Fury, that's like lights out. It goes from like a 50-50 matchup to like your 5% to win when that Teferi hits. So
is it possible they play Teferi, then you go Angel's Grace on your turn, Spoils of the Vault, I don't know, Felden's Cane, and then play Thassa's Oracle?
Yeah, that is definitely possible, and that's what you have to do at that point, right? You just have to go for it. But if you're on the draw, they're gonna get that Teferi before you get to your turn 4, right? So they're gonna go play Teferi. You're gonna untap, play your Phyrexian Unlife. They're gonna say, "Cool, bounce it. I have 4 mana up," and there's just not much you can do at that point.
I will say, tutor is still on suspend.
Yeah, and you can't cast it at that point, right? Because you can only play things at sorcery speed. And
So this is getting really nailed. This profane tutor.
Yeah, profane tutor and Lotus Bloom just stay exiled forever if your opponent resolves the Fury Time Raveler, and that is a big reason why it has to not hit. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, some of them are like putting the Teferi in the sideboard now. I mean, you'll still see it, but like it's not as popular in the main deck as it used to be because of all this stupid fast decks.
Yeah, love the fast decks. Ad Nauseam loves aggro decks.
And this is pretty aggro metagame. This is pretty aggro.
Oh yeah, nothing makes me happier as an Ad Nauseam opponent than seeing my opponent go like Mountain, Swift Spear, Mountain, Soulscar, Bolt. If that's your way to win, you're not winning for sure.
We got MTG Ectoplasm with the super chat. MTG Ectoplasm always wants to know what is a tougher matchup, Bant or Azorius Spirits? Which one will cause the most headaches for Ad Nauseam?
Oh, that is a good question. I'm not too familiar with what the green adds.
Yeah, it's Noble Hierarch and Collected Company, so they can get turn 2 Spell Queller online or even turn 3 Collected Company to find a Spell Queller.
Wow. I hate that.
There we go. I think we found out which one's more annoying.
Spell Queller is definitely a big issue. Just now that we are not as all in on Ad Nauseam, Spell Queller gets better, right? Because it's a mana cost 4 or less. So Ad Nauseam has been safe. A big issue with the deck is Aether Vial, right? Because we play a bunch of Pact of Negations and such, but you can't pact an Aether Vialed in Spell Queller, so that's a huge issue. Also, Mausoleum Wanderer is very annoying as well. That's another piece of interaction that comes out early, and we can't really counterspell that, right? A lot of our counterspells don't work, and we're trying to win a counter war where our counterspells don't work. So definitely Spell Queller and Mausoleum Wanderer are big issues. I will also say that Collector Oof out of the sideboard for the Bant version would definitely be a pain.
Yep.
So yeah, the clock doesn't matter. The clock is not what kills us. It's the remember, pressure plus disruption beats ad
Yep.
nauseam. So
Always.
yeah, having your counterspell attack for like 2 or 3 damage every turn is kind of for sure.
So here's a question that always people ask, but the answer today is going to be so different from the answer of like just a few years ago prior to the printing of Thassa's Oracle. Tell us about what is the mirror match like today for ad nauseam?
All right, so there are 2 cards that matter way more than all the other cards. Angel's Grace and Thoughtseize. So game 1, we don't have Thoughtseize, right? Whoever has the most Angel's Graces in their hand wins game 1. I'm not even joking.
Yep.
Like, if I go for the Spoils Oracle combo, go all in on one turn, exile my whole library, I'm either winning this turn or I'm losing on my next turn.
Right.
Or on my end step. Cool. I'll cast Angel's Grace in response. I don't lose to your Oracle trigger, and you have no life and no cards in your deck. Good game. So if you have more Angel's Graces than your opponent can trigger their Thassa's Oracle, then you're just going to win. So you really have to go for the ad nauseam, pick up the deck. So you're going to want your Unlife. You're going to want to play ad nauseam. And then you're going to want to play as many Thassa's Oracles as you can. So leave like leave 3 cards in your deck, play a Thassa's Oracle, they Angel's Grace. Cool. Untap. Thassa's Oracle? Oh, you have a second Angel's Grace? Okay. Another Oracle? You had all 3 Angel's Graces? Well, now I'm going to lose. You know what I mean? So that's game 1. Game 2, you have access to Thoughtseize, right? So you pick up your whole deck, just like we talked about, and then you cast Thoughtseize on your opponent. Now your opponent is cornered, right? If they don't use their Angel's Grace, then you just play the Oracle and you win. So they have to use the Angel's Grace. And then at that point, you don't need to play the Oracle because you can't win that turn. So you're trading that Thoughtseize for their best card, and without using any of your Oracles, right? So that's how you have more Oracles than they have Angel's Graces, and that's how you win the game. So it's literally all about
Thoughtseize, right?
Yeah, more Oracles. You need to have more Oracle triggers than your opponent has Angel's Graces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if they Grace in response to the trigger, that's bad. So by Thoughtseizing the Angel's Grace away, or using a Thoughtseize to force them to play Angel's Grace, you lower the number of Angel's Graces your opponent has while keeping the same number of Thassa's Oracles. So eventually, you'll put an Oracle into play, and they won't have any Angel's Graces left. And that's the goal.
Gotta exhaust them Angel's Graces.
Yes, that's the dynamic in game 2. Game 1 is kind of a crapshoot. If you had a lot of Graces in your opener, you're probably going to win. I would even cast Spoils of the Vault, naming Angel's Grace, just so I have an extra Angel's Grace to play in game 1. And then game 2, you just want to cast Thoughtseize. If they don't play their Grace, then you take it and play Oracle. So that means that they have to Grace. You get to keep your Oracle for the next couple turns, and eventually you'll, like you said, exhaust them and win. So pretty interesting matchup for sure.
Thanks for asking, Dr. Glass Bottle. Pete asks, is turn 4 combo a bit slow after Modern Horizons 2 releases?
That is a really good question. So I'm going to say no. A lot of these decks are like aggro decks, or like Living End isn't really trying to win on turn 4. Crashing Footfalls is not a turn 4 deck. Even like Hell's Kitchen and Urza's Kitchen aren't winning on turn 4. Black Red isn't winning on turn 4. Orzhov Stoneblade. Amulet Titan can do it on like turn 3 or 4. Orzhov Stoneblade can't. So a lot of decks in the metagame aren't winning on turn 3. They can win on turn 4. But, to go even further, and especially against the Burn and Blitz decks that are, known for those turn 3 kills or whatever, you're playing cards like Angel's Grace. You're playing cards like Phyrexian Unlife. these two white cards are going to pad your life total and just buy you all the extra time that you need to get to that turn 4. Nothing is more satisfying than when your burn opponent spends all the cards in hand. They've got like one card left. They got a Goblin Guide and a Swift Spear in play. And then you just say, all right, I'm at 6 Phyrexian on life. Now I'm basically at 16.
You can scoop
and by the way, I'm going to win next turn.
Yeah.
And I'm at 16. So the deck is really designed to beat these fast aggro decks because they just lose all their steam after they, dump their hand. And then we just get to our turn 4 and we get there. So I think that, turn 4 is slow if you're like a mid-range deck. But if you're a combo deck, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Ad Nauseam is the deck that is meant to drag the game to turn 4 because of Angel's Grace and Phyrexian on life. Most decks don't have access to those cards.
Right.
So you play to the speed of Ad Nauseam. Ad Nauseam slows the game down long enough that, killing by turn 4 isn't so slow anymore.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. And you also have Pact of Negation as well. If you play Pact of Negation on turn 3, you can untap, play that Angel's Grace, and then once you play that
Angel's stack at upkeep.
Exactly. In response to the trigger, now that's the white card you needed for your combo. Now you can just play the Oracle and the Spoils of the Vault, and that's your win. So Pact as well is another great way to get to that turn 4.
Beautiful. Jose asks, aside from Out of Time, is there anything else Modern Horizons 2 brought to Ad Nauseam? Profane Tutor? Well, I mean, we are playing Profane Tutor. So, but
Profane?
what other upgrades this deck get? I mean, I see they're now playing with the Clearwater Pathway. Not a huge upgrade, but maybe something marginal.
I would call that a big upgrade, actually.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
We have no Scrylands in here anymore. What happened to the Scrylands?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. So the deck does not like to shuffle because it doesn't really matter so much anymore. But that has always been a thing. And a big reason we don't want fetches and shocks is because we have to pay life to do those things. Once you have 0 or less life, or if you have only 1 life, you cannot pay that amount of life to get those lands into play untapped. So even if I'm at 0 life, this Clearwater Pathway will always come into play untapped. Another thing is that 6 fast lands is the perfect amount of fast lands. I've done the math. Just trust me. Anything more than 6 fast lands, and you're going to have like the chances of you drawing a fast land when you need an untapped 4th mana source is a little too high, in my opinion. So I've done the math. I like 6 a lot. You could play less if you needed to, but these pathways let us place only 6 fast lands as well. So it just makes the mana come into play untapped better. And as far as tap lands, well, now that we have Profane Tutor, we have more things to do on turn 2. A great line has always been, play my Temple, Scry, and then play my Serum Visions, right? But now we have a way better turn 2 play. We get to play that Joker in our deck, like you said before. So play the card that could be anything on the turn that we try to win is way better than, scrying a little bit. So
the clunky lands.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Anything else from Modern Horizons 2 that appeals to you?
Yeah, there have been a couple lists trying the Prismatic Ending card.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to get the spoiler up here on my computer. See if
we got it here. Prismatic
we've got it here. Yeah, Prismatic Ending.
It's a fancy show here.
Yeah, the production value is great. People have been talking about that a little bit. I think that the important cards to answer in Ad Nauseam are Teferi Time Raveler, number 1, Karn the Great Creator, Blood Moon, Chalice of the Void, and then you'll have your Hate Bears like Collector Roof, Thalia, etc., Meddling Mage, and then also not really so much Damping Sphere. Torpor Orb can be annoying. Yeah, so the problem with Prismatic Ending is I'm not paying 4 mana to exile a Karn, you know? I'm not paying 3 mana to exile a Teferi. You know, that's just not mana efficient enough for me.
So what do they
It's great
want this
against
card
spells.
for?
Well, that's what they're trying to do. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it costs too much mana for the effect in this deck. I am playing Spell Pierce and Thoughtseize for things like this. That's kind of like what I'm using as a catch-all, because it's mana efficient, and in some cases, once it hits, you can't really, answer it as effectively. Like Teferi hits. Well, now that's just a whole mess of worms. We can't really let that hit. Karn hits. Well, now I don't have the mana to exile it because I can't use my artifacts. Blood Moon's in play. Well, now I don't have all the colors I need to exile it with this card. So I think that, being proactive, or, answering it before it hits play with Spell Pierce is very important. So
yeah,
that's why I'm not playing this card.
This card seems to be for situations where you're losing. You're just outright losing anyway.
I don't like losing, so I'm not a big fan of this one. A couple people have talked about the card Damn. I think it's too much mana. It's just too mana intensive. I really like to keep this deck as low to the ground as possible when it comes to mana, because our deck takes a lot of setup, right? Like, we need to suspend our tutor on turn 2. We need to play our Unlife on turn 3. We don't really have the extra mana to be playing Prismatic Ending or Damn in this case, or Bantu's Last Reckoning. We don't have enough mana to really afford these Wrath effects, etc. And that's why I like Slaughter Pact so much. I'll say that again. It's free. Slaughter Pact is free. Just play Slaughter Pact, please.
I see. The way you've built your deck is very mana efficient. Like, you're as mana efficient as possible.
Yeah,
and that's 1 mana.
Yeah, and that's also really good with Ad Nauseam too, right? Like, if you play Ad Nauseam for value without the white card to back it up, you can draw like 30 cards with this deck.
Right.
Just off that one spell. I had a really funny situation at F&M the other night. My opponent is playing 8-Rack, and they cast Wrench Mind, and I say, in response, I'll cast Ad Nauseam. I pick up like 20 cards, and they're like, I discard a Pentad Prism, and then they're like, all right, I will plus my Liliana.
Yeah.
I've got a fistful of like 30 cards. It was so funny. That was really fun. But yeah, so Value Ad Nauseam is much better in this deck than its previous version, because now, instead of playing 4 Spirit Guide, which adds 12 CMC, we're playing 4 Profane Tutor, which adds 0 CMC. So you can actually draw a lot more cards.
Right.
Cool.
Hey, Fox, thank you very much for becoming a member. And we got a super chat. Chris Ross, thoughts on rebuff the Wicked for your Oracle? I have no idea what this is.
I think it's like a counter spell that protects a creature.
Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. I don't know if this does anything.
So that's a really good question, and I think a lot of beginning players make this mistake. Once the Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, its triggered ability will go on the stack.
It's over.
And if my opponent lightning bolts my Thassa's Oracle, that triggered ability is still going to be on the stack. So I actually don't need Rebuff the Wicked to protect my Thassa's Oracle, because it's already done its job. When it enters the battlefield, I can't read the text. It's so small on my phone. Look at the top X cards. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your deck, you win the game. And oftentimes with this deck, you'll have 0 cards with Spoils of the Vault, or 0 cards when you pick up your deck with Ad Nauseam. So my Oracle gets killed. My Devotion to Blue is 0. But guess what? That's equal to or greater than 0, right? So I win the game even if the Oracle gets killed. That's a great question. And a lot of opponents still will Fatal Push the Oracle, and it's going to be all right. You're going to win anyway.
Yeah, we're going to win.
Question.
Let's try to find some random one. Thoughts on Silence as a one-of?
Yeah, Silence is a good question. Silence is actually the white spell that says your opponents can't
Oh, sorry.
play spells this turn. You're
I
thinking
was
of
thinking of.
darkness.
Yeah, I was thinking of darkness.
Yeah, silence. 1 white mana, instant speed. Your opponent can't cast spells this turn. Yeah, I've liked this card. I've played it before. I was thinking about playing it recently because Dothi Voidwalker is a Magic card now,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really interesting piece of hate against us. So my thought is play the silence, turning off the Dothi Voidwalker, and then go for the kill. Fortunately for us, it seems like no one knows how to actually use Dothi Voidwalker in the matchup.
Yeah.
So,
How does it used against you? Like, I'm not even sure I
all right.
understand.
So if we go back to the deck list, or yeah, look up Dothi Voidwalker. So when a card goes into my graveyard, it gets
Yeah.
exiled,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can tap the Dothi Voidwalker to cast that card.
Yeah.
Well, as you're aware, Ad Nauseam plays 4 copies of a card that says you can't lose the game this turn.
Exiled card. You know, for some
Yeah.
reason I always thought this an exiled creature. Wow, I never read Dothi Voidwalker properly the first time at all. I didn't
Right.
understand that this was a one-sided Leyline of the Void. I didn't realize it can cast anything.
It's a nasty card for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ad Nauseam is playing 4 copies of Angel's Grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's got split second. That says you can't lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have a Dothi Voidwalker in play and we cast Angel's Grace, spoils my deck, Oracle, win the game trigger on the stack, they can just play our own Angel's Grace, right? To not lose the game this turn. It's like the Ad Nauseam mirror situation we just talked about like 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem, right? That's a big problem. And my thought was I could use Silence to turn off the Voidwalker. But, you know, there are so many ways to, like, if you get a Phyrexian Unlife, and that's what you're using to not lose the game to your spoils, then you're not putting Angel's Grace in your graveyard. And that's a great way to not lose the game. I've also had several opponents attack me with their Dothi Voidwalker, so that they can't tap it to use the ability. I've had opponents sacrifice their Dothi Voidwalker to play my Profane Tutor, which is also kind of a misplay because literally all you have to do is keep it untapped. And that's going to really hurt my ability to combo kill.
Yeah.
Because they can get Grace. Also,
baby that Grace.
Yeah. Also, if I have to Pact of Negation something, then they can cast my own Pact of Negation against me, and that's pretty awkward too. But we can. There's a lot of we can get into that more some other time for sure. So Silence as a one of, I don't think it's needed right now, but if you did decide to play it, I wouldn't judge you. It's a fine choice.
Steve Manzo asked, Dragon Rage Channeler is more than fine replacement for the monkey. I would say so. If you're not running Dragon Rage Channeler, I would say so. This is like the new Delver, infinite gas.
The card
is great. What are your thoughts as a Delver player?
As a Delver player, Dragon's Rage Channeler got me like, sheesh! It's really good. Not only are you playing a 1-mana 3/3 flying creature, but you're also looking at the top card of your library. If that's an instant or sorcery, keep that bad boy on top, flip your Delver of Secrets. Yeah, it's a really strong card for a tempo strategy. Tempo is all about putting a threat into play early game and then disrupting your opponent for the rest of the match. Or the rest of the game, rather. So, I like Dragon's Rage Channeler. As a replacement for the monkey, I think the monkey is good for different reasons. You're not playing monkey because it attacks for a lot of damage, like the Dragon's Rage Channeler. You're playing it because it creates value through the treasure tokens, and it draws a card from the opponent's deck. You're getting card advantage and mana advantage with Ragavan, but you're only getting card selection with Dragon's Rage Channeler. So I could definitely see it as a budget replacement. But again, I do like Dreadhorde Arcanist if you're trying to get a value-oriented threat. But yeah, Dragon's Rage Channeler is the bee's knees. Plays great with Delver. Plays great with Arclight Phoenix. Please play your Dragon's Rage Channelers. I love seeing that card across the table.
Great
Yeah.
with Phoenix. Dump that Phoenix. See, there is some situations where it's card advantage. I mean, if you're looking for Phoenixes, you put them in your
Oh
graveyard.
yeah,
That's as good as card advantage.
certainly.
Fraser asks if Teferi stays mostly in sideboards, then could your ban prediction become less likely? I mean, maybe. I predict like Teferi's going to get banned in like 2 years. They banned it in Pioneer, they banned it in Historic, and not even for power level reasons. This is just because the community hates the damn card. So I see a world, and Modern already had a lot of pressure on Teferi earlier. Now we're seeing less Teferi now, but I still see a world where one day Control's going to come back. Teferi is going to be really annoying, and the card that they probably axe is Teferi. What are your thoughts on the chances of Teferi getting banned?
Um, I would love that more than anything in the world. That would just make my that would just make my day. I remember waking up and seeing Spirit Guide banned, worst day. Teferi banned, I'm going out for drinks. Like, it's just the best thing ever. As far as the likelihood, I really don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Cascade has proven to be a very, very strong effect in Modern. They keep printing free spells. Like, we've got this Modo busting Glimpse of Tomorrow deck that looks so fun to play. We're not allowed to have fun when we play Magic, right? So Teferi's got to slow things down for us. Yeah.
Oh, so you see Teferi as a necessary evil?
No, I just see it as evil, and I think that evil things should be allowed to exist.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I hate it so much, but I can just see somebody in the ivory tower at Wizards, just like, you know, this is having Teferi around is gonna let us print more stupid cards because otherwise they would be too good. So like, I feel like because Teferi exists, they were able to print those really fun suspend cards like Profane Tutor, right?
Well, they
I
printed
made it.
they printed what's it called, Void Mirror. They're giving more answers, generic answers to
That's
these
true.
free stuff.
That's true. That's true. Um, I don't know. I wish I could just say cards completely unnecessary, ban it, but I don't know. I mean, there's a tweet that I made. Oh, these fun new suspend cards would be so great if only I could cast them in Modern. But yeah, Teferi.
Do you
I
think
don't
if
know.
they ban Teferi, all hell breaks loose?
Um, maybe in like a couple years, yeah. But like
Okay.
as for right
Okay.
now, I think it would be fine. But it's the same reason they banned Simian Spirit Guide, right? You know, the printing of all these powerful cards, fast mana becomes an issue. Same thing with Teferi, with all these, new Cascade cards are printed, new Suspend cards are printed, or if there's a mechanic that exists that we haven't even seen yet that abuses instant speed things. Teferi is there to just ruin the game for everyone. So, yeah, I think that, yeah, I don't know. I'm giving a lot of mixed signals right now. I hate the card, but I understand why it's not banned. Would I like it to be banned? Yes, but I think it's okay if they don't. I'll live.
All right. What do we got here? How about Tails End for Oracle? So how effective is cards like Tails End for Oracle?
To counter the trigger, it can be pretty effective. Yeah. So the one thing I will say is that if Ad Nauseam has picked up its library, we are going to have Pact of Negation to counter blue spells like this.
Yeah, I want to say, like, having answers for Oracle is not the answer that you want, because traditionally when you play against Ad Nauseam, traditionally, this might be a little bit different now, but, they play Ad Nauseam, they will pick up the entire 60, and they'll have 3 Pact of Negations in their hand. And at that point, the moment they play Thassa's Oracle, it's too late. There might be some games where you go Angel's Grace, Thassa's Oracle, trigger on the stack, play Spoils of the Vault.
Right.
But I mean, that's only going to be some number of the games, so this is going to be really hit or miss. And in general, I think when you're attacking Ad Nauseam, you should just be attacking just the generic cards, maybe just before the What do you
Yeah,
think are the most
totally.
popular cards to attack? I think I would probably these days attack Profane Tutor. I would attack Ad Nauseam. In the past, it was just Ad Nauseam. I just didn't care about what else, what you did. I
Yeah.
attacked the Ad Nauseam at all costs, and maybe the Phyrexian Unlife if I felt like I could win next turn.
Yeah. So it's really interesting what you said, like attacking Profane Tutor. I know historically, like especially in like Commander games, which a
Hmm.
lot of people play these days, like the heuristic has always been don't counter the tutor, counter the card they search for, right? But in this deck in particular, like there's just so many like the cards here are so powerful and so game winning that letting me get whichever one that I need is going to be way too good. And in some situations, I have it all, and I'm just getting a Pact of Negation to
Hmm. Hmm.
to counter your counterplay. So it can be really challenging. I'm not sure if countering the tutor is correct, but it could be.
Or
Another
yeah,
thing I want to
I
mention
guess I
that
have just counter whatever the hell you get. I mean, it depends on my counter spell. Like for example, let's say you
yeah.
need Thassa's Oracle, and I only have well, okay, if I have Force Negation, then I have to count. I could counter. Well, I can't counter Angel's Grace. That's the annoying thing. This thing has split second. This is
Mhm.
uncounterable. Um,
But you can counter the spoils.
I can counter the spoils, but that's
Hmm.
well, I guess it's not that awkward. Okay, okay. I'm gonna have to see what it's gonna be like. Usually, I just play like I don't know, Chalice on one, and it deals with this stuff.
Yeah,
And if I have a
that's
real counter
true.
spell, I'm just waiting for Ad Nauseam.
Absolutely. I will say, attacking the mana can be very good.
Hmm.
So if I have kept a hand that's light on lands and it's like leaning hard on a Lotus Bloom or a Pentad Prism, I need 4 mana to win the game. If you are seeing me miss land drops, hitting that Pentad Prism is not a bad idea. Um, and then killing the Unlife, do not. I think a lot of people do this. Try not to wait until the spoils, the lethal spoils is on the stack. Just try to kill the Unlife proactively. I mean, I think it depends on the scenario, but
Hmm.
if you kill the Unlife, if I have a Pact of Negation and you kill the Unlife with my spoils on the stack, I just counter the kill spell and I win. But if you do it the turn before, if I packed, well, now I need an extra Angel's Grace to pay for that pack trigger and all this other stuff. So I would say don't try to gotcha the Adnal's opponent. Just kill the Unlife as soon as you can so that they don't have extra time to set up and, play around your destruction.
Hmm.
So,
So a few
yeah.
people are asking about Void Mirror and Torpor Orb, and this question gets both of them. How effective do you find these cards against you?
So Void Mirror is going to be about as bad as a Teferi Time Raveler. So it's pretty decent. It doesn't turn off counter spells.
Hmm.
I think it really depends, like the matchup that these cards are coming in from, because, like I've said before, you need pressure and disruption to beat Ad Nauseam. If
Hmm.
you only just have Void Mirror and like nothing to follow it up, eventually we are gonna cantrip our way into the combo, and there's that. Torpor Orb does just shut down the deck at the moment. If you resolve a Torpor Orb, it's gonna be very hard to win the game. That being
You
said,
got to get in that red zone with Thassa's
yeah,
Oracle.
gotta get in the red zone. 20 point clock, baby.
Yeah.
That being said, the deck does play 3 Spell Pierce and 2 Thoughtseize. So if you're expecting something like this, then you should have the answers for it. I can't imagine your opponent is bringing in more than 1 or 2 of these effects. So having 5 proactive ways to get it out of the opponent's hand is going to be. It should be enough.
That's interesting. Usually, correct me if I'm wrong, there's like one echoing truth in these
Right.
lists
Yeah.
traditionally. You
So
you scrap the echoing truth.
I sure did. We actually had a really heated discussion about that recently on the Facebook page, but I just don't think Echoing Truth aged very well. It's
I've never liked this card at all. I don't know about the ad nauseum players, but I never
I
fucking
mean,
liked this card.
yeah, from the ad nauseum perspective, it's a catch-all, right? Like
Hmm.
it's a safety blanket. It makes us feel good. Like, we're going into the whatever matchup we're going into, whatever they play, As long as it's only one thing, we can win the game. But 2 mana is so much in this deck, and with cards like Karn and Teferi, you really can't let those hit. Like if the like I said, if Teferi resolves, you're not going to be able to Echoing Truth in time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the Teferi's in play. It's you might as well pack it in. So
Well, I mean, I think this card is mostly for, Chalice of the Void Mirror, Torpor Orb, just those random permanents that, I mean, especially Torpor Orb, looks like you're just cold to it. You have no, like you said, I didn't realize until I looked at the sideboard, you have no way to beat this Resolve Torpor Orb. There's nothing.
right. I mean, I have not seen a Torpor Orb is outside of a Karn Wishboard in like a couple years.
Yeah.
The thing about that is if Karn is wishing for Torpor Orb, well, hey, that Karn is already in play, so you're already losing. Yeah. So, I mean, if everybody starts playing Torpor Orb in the sideboard, yeah, we should play something to deal with that. But I don't even think it's Echoing Truth. It's probably something like less expensive or more or like Wear Tear or like the 1 mana white spell that destroys an artifact with mana cost 3 or less or something like that. There's more mana efficient ways to handle this. I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong for playing Echoing Truth. I just think it doesn't do what I need it to do in 2021. And in 2021, I need mana efficiency. I need to stop these threats before they come into play. And yeah, so Thoughtseize.
We want preventative measures.
Yes, preventative measures that are cheap to do.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize, great against Torpor Orb. Spell Pierce, great against Torpor Orb. I mean, I don't even, like I said, I don't know what decks are even playing these cards, but if you do see one in game 2, bring in your Spell Pierces and your Thoughtseizes, and if your opponent's like got a mulligan to 4, just know that because they know that you're completely cold to this, know that that Thoughtseize is going to take you to the finish line. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say about that, but Echoing Truth did not age well. Too much mana, not preventative. Spell Pierce costs half as much mana, does the same thing. I like it a lot more.
Excellent. All right. You know what time it is, everyone? We don't have music today because I can't make music work for some reason with my guest, but it is time for deck list review. So if you got a 75 you'd like some feedback on, submit it to us. Both myself, Ryan Donkin, and the community. We're going to give you that feedback. If you want to know how to do, before we get into that, just want to remind everyone who doesn't want to stay for deck list review, if you want to find our guest, Ryan Donkin, how can they find you? Where do they follow you?
That's a great question. So I am on Twitch. I stream on Twitch as often as I can. I'm very busy these days. I literally left work, and then within the next 5 minutes, I was sitting down with Nikachu. And anyway, I stream when I can, and I upload to YouTube as well. I see you have my YouTube page right there.
That's right.
I've got some of my accolades, winning a Super PTQ with Ad Nauseam. I've qualified for the Pro Tour twice with this deck. I've got a couple 5.0s up there, some informational videos on like how-tos and stuff, or, YouTube channel is there. That's going to be, can you drop the link in the chat? It's like
we got all the links in the description below. Don't worry, I got it all ahead of time. That's why I asked you for that stuff.
The production value.
The production,
so
that's
awesome.
right. If you want to find his Twitch, his Twitter, his YouTube, you can find that all in the description below. Also
and I
get a
will
link
say,
to the sideboard guide featured for the deck list of today's video once he posts it.
It's posted right now. I had it set to fire at 11 a.m. EST, so that should be up right now.
So I'll snap edit that thing back in here. Go give him a sub. Follow him on Twitch if you want that Ad Nauseam content. Keep flowing.
Absolutely.
All right, so for deck list review, this is how it works, people. If you haven't been here before, there also go into my description. There is a link to my Discord. Join my Discord, and then from there, join the channel Decklist Review. Enter the command !review deck space. Give the URL to your deck list. Press enter, and you'll be eligible at random for deck list review. All right, and I think
I have a
enough
lot of
time.
experience with Eternal Command, Teamer Escape Shift, all kinds of Delver decks. I love Snapcaster Mage plus Aether Vial decks. Anything like that, I've played a lot of.
Well, congratulations. You're on Decklist Review, where we get all sorts of stuff, and we do our best. And whatever I can't do,
Amazing.
I give it to the chat to suggest. All right. Oh, by the way, how much time do you have?
I've got a lot of time. I don't have anything to do until 2:30 today. So
Okay.
after this, I'm
Right.
just editing my next YouTube video.
We're not too long. I just didn't know if you could go over an hour. This apparently is a
absolutely.
Clue Company. We're playing Clue Company. I'm guessing the point is we're
Awesome.
going to play Collected Company to get the new Academy Manufactor card in combination with Tireless Tracker and Tireless Provisionary. These are all the cards. Landfall, create food or treasure tokens. Then boom, you multiply that effect with the Academy Manufactor. Okay, so this is the first time I've ever seen this card with Collected Company. What are the other new cards in this deck? Hard Evidence. Create a 0/3 blue crab creature token. Is this if any token? If you'd create a clue, food, or treasure token, well, that doesn't trigger anything. Or no, but it does have Investigate.
It does create a clue. Yep.
Oh, okay. So boom. But this isn't hit by Collected Company.
That's
Hopefully
true.
you
Can I
have enough
read
creatures.
Erdwall Illuminator? I'm not familiar with that card.
Yeah, we gotta read. Okay, let's start from the top here. Bloodbriar is a 3-mana 2/3. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on this. All right. So for all the clues, food, everything, you're gonna make this thing big. Erdwall Illuminator, 2-mana 1/3, flying. Whenever you investigate for the first time each turn, investigate an additional time. All right.
Ooh,
So
okay.
we get it compounds. Graph Mole. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 3 life. I think that's a little bit weaker, but still within synergy. 2 Llanowar Elves. For Lonus Cryptozoologist, this is whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, investigate, and then you can sacrifice X clues and basically steal something from your opponent's deck for the top of their deck. Tireless Provisionary, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token or a treasure token, and Tireless Tracker is the other one. Put a land into the battlefield, investigate. So how many creatures do we have? We have 26 creatures. We're a little on the low side for Collected Company, just giving the heads up. Also, Llanowar Elves is like one of the worst mana dorks. I don't know if you're on a budget, but I mean, it just should be Noble Hierarch. No, it should be the Goose, right?
Yeah, the making food, that could be good. One thing that I think would make this deck a little bit stronger in terms of its explosiveness would be having ways to sacrifice your clues that don't require you to spend 2 mana on each one. It's going to power up your Tireless Tracker, your Mole, and your Bloodbriar much faster. Imagine like you're playing against Burn, you've got like 3 clues in play, and it's like they've got a bolt on the stack, but you have no way to sack your clues. You don't have to draw a card off your clue to gain that 3 life, right? So any way to sacrifice clues for free would be pretty good, I think. Yeah, and also,
but do you have a suggestion for making this happen? This sounds
yeah,
great in theory. We need a card.
Yeah, what's a creature that can sacrifice artifacts? I mean, the Lonus does that, right?
The what?
The Lonus Cryptozoologist sacrifices clues for free, or do you have to pay X or something?
Well, you have to tap. Oh, you can sacrifice X clues, but you have to tap it.
Okay.
I guess.
So
Well,
maybe
I guess we have a little something. We have a little something.
a little something.
What is this? Confront the unknown. Investigate, then target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You know what? I'd probably scrap this one to have at least another creature. Like, I'd take out at least 2 of these, the 2 Llanowar Elves, put the Gilded Goose in the deck, And then, I mean, these still have synergy with your deck. I mean, Gilded Goose, by the way, sometimes just runs away with the game. It just makes food tokens if you need to. You have nothing else to do. And then, I don't know, turn 2 more Confront the Unknown into something else. Any of these cards, especially in Modern, you know, target creature gets this. I mean, I think the only playable cards, the only playable sort of like pseudo pump spells are basically for Infect, because
Right.
this has a high chance of getting blown out, or it just doesn't really do much if you have no creatures on the board.
I'm doing a quick search right now. Ravenous Squirrel is kind of interesting. I think this could be a replacement for Bloodbriar.
Some
At
people are
least,
suggesting Arcbound Ravager,
yeah, that could be good.
but
A
not
free
a
way
great
to
target for
sacrifice
Collected Company.
No.
So what the
Ravenous Squirrel. It's got the Bloodbriar text, but it only costs 1 mana. And it also is a sacrifice outlet that in itself.
I don't know how to spell Ravenous, apparently. I'm going to look up Squirrel.
Ravenous.
Oh, maybe I'm spelling Squirrel wrong. Oh, I am spelling Squirrel wrong. That's the problem.
Right there, the hybrid.
Boom. Well, yeah, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Ravenous Squirrel. Yeah, this might work. I like that instead of this Confront the Unknown.
Yeah, and you will be able to make black mana with your treasure tokens, right? So you can actually use that. What else here?
Sideboard is okay. I don't know what you need Ceremonious Rejection for, but it's okay. Fleeting Memories. When Fleeting Memories enters the battlefield, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, target player puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. You have nothing to really back this up with. I don't know. Maybe they're. I don't know what this deck looks like in practice. Maybe it gets like millions of clues, and you can somehow mill your opponent's deck. But I mean, if you don't actually do that, this is not point. It's not playable. We got Wilt, Veil of Summer, Relic of Progenitus. These are all fine cards. 4 copies of Glimmer Baron. People are saying Glimmer Baron.
Oh, yes. That would be perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah.
All right, maybe we're going to have that instead of the Confront the Unknown. That's totally fair. I still want the Goose, though. I still want the Goose. So replace 2 elves. Maybe 2 hard evidence for the Goose, and then replace 4 Confront the Unknown with this...
yeah, I think the hard evidence could just go, for sure. I'm not attached to that card. It can't be hit off Coco. We've got, you know...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Glimmer Baron, at least some number of that card is going to, you know, be like your 5 through 8 copies of the Cryptozoologist, in a way.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for submitting the deck list. Really colorful list. All right, let's take a look at another one. And Random Control Player. Congratulations. You are the next contestant on Decklist Review.
Woo!
Anyway, Legacy Hull Breacher. How much Legacy do you play?
Not a ton, but I follow the format.
You're a Delver
I know that
player.
Delver is good. That's my Legacy knowledge.
It's like it never goes away either. I mean, they're not banning Delver. If they wanted to ban it, it would have been like years ago. I think the only way you can ban Delver is just print cards better than Delver. It's the only way. Wow, $6,800 online. It's okay. It's okay online. Legacy Hull Breacher. Okay, we got Stonecoil Serpent. We got 2 Ragavan. We have 4 Hull Breacher. Imagine this card was... I don't know if I even play this if it was in Modern. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one.
Or Burning Inquiry. I love that. That's awesome.
2 Dak Faden, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Burning Inquiry, 4 Ponder. Yeah, so you're making your... I guess you play Hull Breacher, you make your opponent draw cards. Sorry, you draw 3 cards, discard 3 cards, but they don't draw 3 cards. They instead would just discard 3 cards. Yeah. That's a good combo. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one that they draw each turn. Instead, you create a treasure token, so they would draw nothing. Or
Hmm.
do they draw something on your turn? If an
Nope,
opponent would
it
draw a
says
card,
except for the one on their draw steps.
they
So
draw in each of their draw steps. Okay. Yeah. So Burning Inquiry is just 1 mana. Discard 3, create 3 treasure tokens. That's big value. 4 Ponder. Days Undoing. Oh, I see. So we're going to create... They're going to draw nothing. Each player shuffles their hand into the graveyard or library, draw 7 cards.
hmm.
And then you end the turn. Well, that's not too bad. Your opponent got nothing and had to lose their entire hand. Force of Will, Echo of the Yawn, same thing. Draw 7
So
cards.
my thoughts about this deck. I love the Burning Inquiry. This is so funny.
Hmm.
I would love to see more copies of Hellbreacher, but we're already at 4. Another
Yes.
card that does a Hellbreacher impression is Narset, the 3
Right.
mana Narset from War of the Spark.
Yeah, Narset Parter of Veils.
Yeah, if even like 2 copies of this card, I think would increase the consistency of this deck by just a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Well, maybe we just take out some of these cards. Like, I don't know what the point of Stone Coil Serpent is.
I'm not entirely sure either.
Or maybe Dak Faden's also expend. Oh no, Dak Faden helps discard Echo the
Black Faden,
Eons.
Black Faden is definitely on theme. I think that 8 wheel effects is kind of a lot as well.
Hmm.
Like 4 Days Undoing and 4 Echo of Aeons is kind of a lot. I mean, I get that Echo of Aeons can be discarded to Burning Inquiry, and that's pretty sweet. But I don't know, it's kind of a lot of that effect, so I would look at trimming some of those there. More Ragavan is obviously really good. But also what's really good is a way to get in more with your Ragavan. So maybe like some Lightning Bolt could be okay in this deck as well.
Right.
Just as a way to clear the way for Ragavan to get in. I don't know a ton about the Legacy metagame, so maybe that's just totally off center.
Well, there's less creatures. I mean, they do have creature-based decks, but there's less creatures. You're gonna run into a decent chunk of just combo decks, really.
Right. So maybe no bolts is fine. But I do think 4 Days Undoing 4 Echo is a lot. And I would like to see some more some Narset in there, just so those cards can actually
Yeah.
get a little bit better too.
It's like we have
So
4 Hull Breacher, but we have 12 of the draw effect.
and 2 Dak Faden, so that's like 14
Hmm.
payoff
So
effects.
maybe we go down a few Echo Vions, maybe down to Stonecoil Serpent to get the Narset. Um,
Mhm.
there is one threat that people mentioned. There's like no There's like barely a win condition in this deck.
Right.
Should we have like a
Um,
Karn the Great Creator or something?
I mean, then you're kind of getting into the Karn Echoes deck, and I feel like that's a little off theme.
Hmm.
But
Or maybe a Jace. I don't know.
yeah, maybe a Jace could be good.
We don't really have
Um,
a way to win the game. We can do fancy things, draw 7
More
cards, and all that.
Ragavans could be good. I don't see any manlands in the mana base.
Yeah, maybe more Ragavans, assuming it can attack in.
I mean, maybe that's what the Stonecoil Serpent is for. It's supposed to just be like a big game-winning threat. I'm not sure.
It
Um,
doesn't look like the most impressive.
what is the name of this one particular card? Oh, it would totally wouldn't work though, right?
And maybe
Hold
you
on.
don't need the Lotus Pel. Oh, maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe turn 2 Hull Breacher is so important. Someone mentioned like Lion's Eye Diamond. I think the only card you can cast with Lion's Eye Diamond is basic Echo the Eons, and then losing all your other cards may not be worth it.
Oh, there's this really funny card that is totally on theme with this deck,
Oh,
but
that's interesting. Maybe Thassa's Oracle. Does a little bit of a scrying impression, draw your whole deck. Maybe. So what's
all
your
right.
thoughts?
Here's a fun one.
Okay.
Shah of Nar Isle. It's not legacy playable, but it's hilarious. It's a 4 mana 6/6 trample with Echo 0. If its Echo cost is paid, each opponent may draw up to 3 cards. Just totally on theme for this deck.
Char? How do you... Oh, this one.
Uh,
Yeah, I got it. Trample
NAAR,
Echo.
yeah. So Just imagine like you have your whole breacher in play, and then you untap and you play a 6/6 trample, which is kind of big for Legacy, right? Like,
Yeah, it's still pretty big. Lightning bolt
yeah,
has no power here.
yeah. I mean, I don't think that this is Legacy playable, but it's totally on theme. For the opponents thought they were drawing cards this game, but actually you're just making treasures instead.
I forgot this deck does make a lot of mana because of the Hull Breacher. Eventually, you'll have a
Yeah,
lot of mana. So, like,
and
I
that
don't think Stonecoil Serpent is the way to win the game. Some people suggesting Ballista, I could get behind that, or maybe we play some big random creature. But yeah,
you could
we do
even
need a
go
win
like
condition.
Banefire. Banefire, is also like a Banefire you for 1,000,000 is always a classy way to win a Magic game.
I guess so. If X's
But I feel
Farmer
like
can't
a
be
lot
countered.
has to go right for that to be the case.
It's not a terrible removal spell either.
Yeah, I like Banefire. I don't know. I like Banefire. What more do I have to say? Who doesn't like Banefire?
So what are we doing? Are we taking out 2 Echo, adding 2 Narset, or do we want to have 4 Narset in this deck?
I would only want 2 Narset in the deck. I don't think you want to overload yourself on this effect. Like, you do have Brainstorm and Ponder. Another thought that came to mind is, some amount of days. Because with dazes, you can put lands back into your hand, which make your burning inquiries better to a degree.
Interesting. Okay.
Burning inquiries, discarding cards at random, getting rid of an island instead of like an important, synergy piece is going to be better for you. So I don't know if that's like good or not, but it's just definitely something that just entered my mind.
Casey says, what does this deck do against a Mirror, Hull Breacher, or Narset? What does happen? Okay, so if an opponent would draw a card, I guess no one draws cards and you just discard.
Yeah, that's
if you
kind of
both have
funny.
a Hull Breacher in play, nobody draws cards. But I guess you all make treasures.
Yeah, I guess Ragavan doesn't technically draw cards, right? So
That's
all
the
about
mirror
that.
breaker
It's all
right
about
there.
Ragavan. Yeah.
Is this legendary? No. So you can get like double the treasures? If I understand this correctly? If I have 2 Hull Breacher in play?
I think it's an instead. It says instead, so it will replace the draw with the treasure making, and the second Hull Breacher doesn't replace the draw that's already been replaced, if that makes sense. It can only be insteaded once, I guess.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
I mean, that's
learned something about the rules.
That's how I would play it.
Instead, you gotta look out for those. It's a replacement effect. Just make 1 treasure. Gotcha. I'm sure there's some people in the Commander, they've cloned their Hull Breacher. They know what happens.
Yeah.
Or they don't clone it for that matter. Okay, that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. We're going to give a thumbs up, give a comment for our special guest, Ryan Donkin, who came here, tell us all about Ad Nauseam, and had some pretty good advice for these decks as well. So thank you very much for coming on to the show, Ryan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And if anyone wants more advice on Ad Nauseam, you can find me on Twitter. I'm always very responsive there. And, I have plenty of content on YouTube, and I stream on Twitch as well. I love this deck, and I love making it accessible to people. So thank you, Nikachu, for having me, giving me an opportunity to, let people know what's up with Profane Tutor and such.
Hey, you're welcome.
It's always a pleasure. Awesome.
All right. And as usual, if you want to see the replay, go check out Nikachu MTG streams. Also, if you didn't get your comments, questions, or Decklist, hey, we do this Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. If you'd love to support the channel, you do not already, you can drop a sub at twitch.tv/NikachuMTG. You could also become a patron at patreon.com, NikachuMTG, or you can join on YouTube. We got some joiners on YouTube. So thank you, everyone, for showing up today.
You.
We're going to thank everybody, because without all of you, the show is nothing. Wouldn't be a very interesting show if it was just me.
It wouldn't be possible, and it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And we're also going to thank once more to Ryan Donkin coming here to talk about Ad Nauseam with us. So,
All right,
Coffee
we'll make
Crew,
you
see you
some more.
next time. Keep brewing up those coffees, and we'll keep brewing up magic. See
Awesome.
you later.